Greetings, Toiletarians! I'm your host, Toilet Terry, and you guys are all watching Toilet Talk with Terry. That's me, obviously. The discussion topic for this episode is the glory days. That's right, the glory days. High school, college. I am going to be discussing a few stories of my grandmother BB's glory days, because there are a few pretty good stories that she has told me more than once that are and always will be very memorable to me. The first one I'm going to share is the story about the captain of her high school football team. Yes, the captain's name was Charlie. He always did things to tick the members of the football team off. She told me of this story of how one night before a football game, he had done something that completely ticked everybody on the football team off. It just ticked him off. She didn't tell me what it was, but something he did ticked him off. That's the bottom line. So, what did they do in return? I'll tell you what they did in return. They got all the heavy-set, strong football players on the team to work together, lift his Volkswagen Bug, and put it between two poles so he could neither drive it forward nor backwards. And he couldn't. After the game, he wasn't able to drive home, and they just left him there that Friday night. 3 days later, on Monday morning, the same heavy-set, strong football players that had moved his Volkswagen Bug moved it from between the poles. From that day forward, Charles treated the football team with utmost respect. How did my grandmother BB know that story? Well, she obviously wasn't on the football team because it was a guys' team. But she was a cheerleader for the football team. A cheerleader. She even told me this story, another story about the football team and the cheerleading team, in which the football team always acted like it was all about them. They were always snooty, and the cheerleaders had decided they were sick of it. Absolutely sick of it. So, at the next pep rally, they decided to, on a dare, have the football players dress up like the cheerleaders and the cheerleaders wear the football gear, just to be funny. And it was pretty funny. The women, the cheerleaders, were standing around in the football gear, the men's football gear, just doing nothing, while the men, the football players, dressed as the cheerleaders, were trying to come up with cheers of their own. It was hilarious. It was hysterical. And from that day forward, the football players were never snooty again, especially towards the cheerleaders. The cheerleaders looked fine in the football gear, but the men in the cheerleader outfits, on the other hand, horrible, horrid, absolutely horrid. I mean, the wigs, the makeup, the skirts that didn't fit, especially the skirts that didn't fit on those obese athletes who masqueraded that for being hefty and strong. Yeah, that's messed up. That's nasty. But the bottom line is they all learned to respect one another from that day forward. And they had fun. Well, at least the cheerleaders and the football players' gear did. I don't know about them obese athletes. The final story that she told me was the story of when her family first moved to Alabama. She started going to a new school. It was a new town, knew everything. And it was the first school she ever went to where there was no student council. At every other school she had been to, she was on the student council. And when she found out there was no student council, she was like, okay, I'll start one. So she did. And it was a successful one, too. It was a great way to make friends. It's no wonder she's so political today. That crooked Hillary needs to be in jail. She needs to be in jail. So I guess the moral of this episode is, or could be something along the lines of, the glory days will pass you by. So for those of y'all who are still in school, make the most of it. And that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this discussion topic. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button for more upcoming content, which will be amazing. Y'all won't want to miss it? Alright, keep it real. Peace out.